What I will say, as a matter of fact, is this world is hyper-competitive, especially as a man. Most men are walking through life and they don't realize that it's constant competition. I was driving here, even as I was driving here, I was looking out the window. There was all these people just walking around. One of them had a fucking croissant. One of them was dressed like a dickhead because it's London. Thinks he fucking looks cool. It's the fucking moron.
We've all seen them.
Yeah, moron. Some of the dude just talking shit on the phone. Some other guy with headphones in, waiting to be fucking murdered, wouldn't even hear it coming. And all these NPCs, I'm just looking at them going, do they realize they're in endless, constant competition? Every single pound they want, someone else wants. Every single girl they want, someone else wants. There are people like me out here. I will destroy, you could get all 30 of them in a room and I will sit by myself and absolutely annihilate them in any single metric. And they're just sitting there just fucking floundering and wandering through life unaware of how competitive the world is.
Well, and whinging how unfair it is.
And whinging how unfair it is. And this is my point. If the world is truly that competitive, you do not have time to be depressed because it's a non-competitive mind state. You can be depressed for X, Y, Z, whatever. I'm not depressed. And I want the money you want, and I want the girl you want, and I want the status you want, and the car you want, and the house you want. And I'm gonna get it, and you're fucking not. And that's the bottom line of life.
If you get it, telling you that if you feel depressed, you cannot fix it. They tell you that depression is a disease that you can catch from the sky no matter how fantastic your life is, and you have no control over it. And I argue that absolutely. The reason the Matrix wants you depressed and sad is because when that happens, you are selfish. If you're depressed and sad, you only care about yourself. You don't care about your community or your family. You don't care about the world. You do not stand up for anything. You'll accept any amount of garbage they want to give you, any Matrix slave mind programming, because you are too busy being sad to resist. This is why they tell you that when you are depressed, it is a disease. It is not a disease. You're depressed because your reality is depressing. The truth is, if I lived the reality that most of these depressed people live, I'd be depressed. Your reality is depressing. You wake up, your wife doesn't love you, your kids don't respect you, there's no milk in the fridge, and you're almost dead. Of course you're depressed. You run out of time. Never had any fun or adventure. Andrew Tate's out here with all these supercars, living the life. We're here in Dubai doing a podcast. You're a brokey. Of course you're depressed. That's because your reality is depressing you. Depression is something deep in your heart and soul telling you that you need to change things. That is the unlimited trauma, the power I was talking about earlier that you can take all of that depression and convert it into unlimited energy to fix your life. Energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be converted. Take the depression and turn it into motivation. And all of a sudden, you see how fantastic your life is. A guy emailed me saying he's depressed, he's going to kill himself. I said, listen, before you do that, get a six-pack. So what are you talking about? You're fat, get a six-pack, still feel like killing yourself. By the time he sent me pictures of the six-pack, long emails, thank you, I saved his life. His reality was depressing. Of course you feel depressed if your reality is depressing. If your reality is fantastic, you don't feel depressed. I guarantee there's a whole bunch of people you can give $1 million to and the depression will disappear. The argument against that is why the famous people kill themselves, which I'm about to answer in a second. And the answer to that is actually going into the broader point. That the way the Matrix teaches about depression, they're trying to teach you to be helpless. They're teaching you that you cannot fight against it unless you take pharmaceutical drugs. And I say that it is not real in that paradigm, and that believing that is the case is going to destroy you. Having no hope will prevent you from fighting back. They're telling you it's hopeless, and it is not. If you do not believe in depression, like I do not believe in depression, no matter what bad things happen to me and how bad and depressed I feel, I know I can fix it. That will make me fight harder than if I believe I cannot fix it. The reason that rich people kill themselves is because they buy into this paradigm completely. They go to a therapist, and the therapist says, you have depression. It's not your fault. It's a disease that nobody can fix, and I can't help, and nobody can help. Then they give them a bunch of mind-altering drugs. Then they sit them there in therapy to talk about all the bad thing that's ever happened to them. Let me tell you something. If someone told me that I felt shit and I couldn't help it no matter what I did about my life, gave me a bunch of mind-altering drugs, and then sat me down to repeat all the bad shit that ever happened to me for hours and hours a day, I'd kill myself. It gets to a point where it just ain't even worth breathing anymore because I believe in that fault. But if you wake up and go, you know what? They're saying this is a disease, but I don't accept that paradigm. I don't believe in it. I believe that I can fix this myself. I believe if I change my reality and create an experience of life that I am absolutely not really satisfied by, I will no longer feel depressed. You will cure most of your own problems. Take two men, put them in two individual haunted houses. One believes in ghosts, one doesn't. There's a loud noise in the night. The one who believes in ghosts wakes up and is paranoid, is afraid, can't sleep, is sitting in the corner of the room shaking. The one who doesn't believe in ghosts goes back to sleep. It is the belief in the ghost which punishes him, not the ghost itself. If you do not believe in depression, you could never. That's why I don't believe in it. And to go into a broader point about all of that, I don't even give a shit if I'm wrong. because I've adopted a mental model that makes me ultimately and utterly competitive in all realms of human endeavor. And if by me not believing in depression, I am better at fighting the idea of being depressed, if I am better at making myself feel happier, if I am better at regulating my emotions by not believing in an idea, then I'll continue to stay wrong. I do not believe in things that take power away from me. I believe in things that make me more powerful. I will not sit here and start believing in ideas that are going to reduce my competence. Absolutely or utterly not. So I don't give a shit what scientist, doctor, I don't give a you put in front of me and try to convince me I am wrong. I don't believe in it because I am more competitive in this realm. And for the people who believe, you and I go through the same terrible experiences, same level of heartbreak and trauma. I guarantee your belief will destroy you. Why would you believe in it? That's against you. Why would you let your own mind become your enemy? Don't people understand that the entire world, the entire matrix is against you? If you can't control your own mind, what chance do you have? Every single ounce of my body is on my side. My mind is my ally, all the way down to my feet, my fingers. Every single part of me is absolutely and utterly on the same team. We are a united front against the enemies of freedom. How can I have my own mind betray me and tell me that I can't do something? I don't give a fuck if I decide to jump off this building. If I decide I'm not going to die, I am not going to die. My own mind will not betray me. Perhaps I'm wrong, but I believe that I stand a better chance of survival if I believe I will survive, as opposed to thinking I will certainly die. People underestimate the power of the mind. I do not believe in anything that takes power away from me. And another thing I do not do is adopt the thinking of people who are sad. When I say this, depressed people send me long emails trying to convince me I am wrong. Why do I want to think like you when you don't want to live? Why would I want to think like you when you want to kill yourself and I'm perfectly fine? Adopting the thinking of somebody who doesn't want to live anymore is probably the most stupid, asinine, inane, childish, ridiculous thing a functioning adult can do. If you're depressed, I don't want to think anything like you. So take your opinion and give it.
Softened everyone.
And that's their goal, right? Their goal is to soften everybody's brains and to delete one side of the argument. This is why I talk about the Matrix. People say, why do you talk about the Matrix all the time? And I say there are people who are living right now in a computer-controlled, a computer-generated reality. If you believe everything you're watching on the news, you are believing a complete false version of reality. The idea of that reality is to keep your brain occupied enough so you continue to do a shit job, shit wages, pay your taxes until you die. That's exactly that's the plot of the Matrix movie. They're abusing your body and controlling your mind so that your body will sit there and do what they need it to do until you're no longer useful anymore. And that's exactly what's happening. And another question I get is people ask me why I'm so interested in this fight against the Matrix. And I try and explain to people that I believe this fight cannot be avoided. I think you're either combating the Matrix and fighting against the garbage they're telling you, or you're believing it. And if you believe it, then you end up fighting against yourself. You end up fighting against your own mind. You can't avoid the battle. If you're a full-grown man and you believe everything that's on the news, you're going to end up fucking semi-depressed, divorced, miserable, broke. Like your life's shit anyway. There's no way to escape this fight. You're either buying their crap and fighting against your mind, or you're fighting against their crap. I don't have time for sad people. I don't have time for unlucky people. I don't have time for someone who's complaining. I don't have time for negativity. I don't have time. I'm so ruthless. If I knew a dude who always had a cold, I wouldn't talk to him. You're too sick. I don't like it. Yeah. My circle is winners. Everyone around me is a winner. No matter what bad happens in our lives, we win. And it's amazing to me that people understand that you are the sum of the 5 people you spend most time with. 100%. But then they don't curate their circle.
No.
They'll go, yeah, I understand that part. And then they'll still hang around with a bunch of fucking losers. The problem is, it has to be a value exchange. You can't be a loser hanging around with winners because winners don't want to hang around with you. You need to find a way to provide value and work your way up. But as you progress through life, there's going to have to be people you cut off because they're just holding on to your coattails, slowing you down. And no matter how many times you give them a chance, they don't want to fucking progress. And that's their decision. That's fine. You don't have to feel guilty about that. You have to find a way to provide value. I'll give you an example. In Romania, I was driving and I went to a town called Cluj. It's a very small town. I went in a nice car and a kid came up to me and said, I run the car spotting page and we take pictures of Ferraris and Lamborghinis. Can I take a picture? I said, yeah, sure. And anyway, he took a picture of it and then he gave me his business card and he said, I just want you to know, I don't even like cars. I just knew the best way for me to meet rich people is to take photos of nice cars.
It's a great story.
I was like, you're smart.
Very
I hired him.
I'm not surprised.
He works for me. Yeah, he still works for me for this day. Yeah. He was smart enough to go, well, where's the money over there? Yeah. How do I get close to the money? Oh, they don't want to talk to me. But if I take cool photos of his car, he might want to talk to me. You have to find a way to provide value to people. Yeah. If you provide value and it's a value exchange, you'll do good. But yeah, I say this to people and they go, oh, but my friend, and we have a good time together. Well, if you're going to prioritize your friends by drinking and having fun, then you're going to have a bunch of fucking loser friends. That's your life and that's your life to live. It's fine. Don't complain. When the NHS are on strike and you can't get seen, and I'm in a private hospital in fucking Saudi. That's your problem. You have to just make your decisions in life and live true to them. But creating a circle is ultra important. And it's not just important financially, it's also important for your entire life and your mindset as a whole. Because it's amazing, especially amongst men, we never want to be the poorest person in the room. We never want to be the weakest person. You never want to be, so if you're with a group of killers, you have now this massive expectation. It's almost like societal pressure and a positive force. If I go to my friends, I can't be the weak one. If everyone does X amount of push-ups, I have to do it.
You might get...
So if you love your family and you love your last name and you're proud of yourself, then you have a duty to be massively, monumentally successful, to show homage to your ancestors. I find it amazing there are people out here today who are going to sit and say, oh, I'm sad, I'm too depressed, I don't want to work hard. Do you understand that only 200 years ago, there were peasants out working a field, starving, surviving the Black Death, surviving the plague, struggling to exist just to reproduce, so that 200 years later, you can be the end of their bloodline, for you to sit on your ass and do fucking nothing. Like, you're a fuck up. You're fucking up your entire bloodline of your entire ancestry. You owe these people things. They went through hell for you to exist. You have a debt. You have a duty to pay. You have to be the best possible version of yourself. And the same to God. God loves people who try. God loves people who work hard. It's amazing if you try your very best all the time, what God will give you. He'll give it to you, anything you want, if you actually try. Not convincing yourself you try, actually try. They're different things. But yeah, I was instilled with this because from a young age, my dad said, you're a tape. And tapes are the greatest people on the face of the planet. And there's gonna be a day I'm not here anymore, and they're gonna talk about me because of how fantastic you are. So go do your fucking job. I said, yes, sir. And here I am.